Hello, good evening, and thanks again for another edition of Ideas Exchange. Tonight, our focus will be on many things that are making Ghanaians angry. We've been hit by two very depressing news items just today. The first one says Ghana has been ranked 9th riskiest country to do business in Africa. 9th riskiest country to do business in Africa. In fact, this report by Oxford Economics Africa, an independent economic advisory firm, examines profits and pitfalls of polarization in each African country, African-led security interventions, and how African countries are financing for the future. So this is a very, very critical incident, because many people will be looking at how this will communicate to people who want to do business in Ghana, or maybe are believing the governor of the Bank of Ghana, who 2 days ago suggested that the first and second quarter reports suggest that the IMF bailout program is helping us to beat the projections by IMF itself. Whether he's speaking the truth or telling lies just to distort figures, we will find out later as we continue our conversations in this country. Again, another very worrying story. Ghana has lost $6.3 billion of its gross international reserves. You know, the gross international reserves are what you can bank your hopes on in case you are not able to service interest on your loans. Just remember that a few weeks ago, the governor of the central bank suggested that because Ghana was able to defer payment on interest rates, it was able to save $2 billion. And so if within 2 years, we've lost $6.3 billion, it means that if we're paying interest on our loans, this $6.3 billion we've lost in 2 years would have been more. Meanwhile, we are going to IMF for just $3 billion. So that's how the issue is. The fact is that many Ghanaians are angry. The anger stems from what we all know: level of impunity, corruption, bad economy, hardship, and so on and so forth. And so it will look as if state institutions, which must help to promote governance and accountability, are even making matters worse. EC is having its own problems. Just recently, when the Occupy Jilobi House demonstrators wanted to start their exercise, the police waited till 24 hours, or maybe less than 24 hours to the day of the incident, went to court, and it got a court to back this agenda, and they gave the police powers to misbehave, and I will use the word misbehave, on the day of the protest, because they took advantage of the court injunction case they were seeking to arrest people, molest them, beat them, embarrass them, with the view of suppressing them, so that the next day they will not be able to come out to demonstrate. And this was the statement the police issued, that as we wait for the court to determine the matter, we wish to urge the public to take note and disregard calls from any individuals or groups encouraging them to assemble for a demonstration at the Jubilee House. We equally wish to urge the organizers to respect the due process in the interest of the public order and public safety. So they issued, it was a psychological warfare. But what they did rather provoked Ghanaians. The reactions were massive on social media, and the organizers were bent on sending a message across. And we all saw it, and you will notice some of these in some of the rushes I will be playing for you to see how young people, as you see in the video, who came out in their numbers in spite of the rains on Friday, on Saturday, they were out there and they succeeded in sending their message across. But the issue is, why is it that some state institutions, and I'm very particular about EC, the police, the NIA, and of course the courts, because if the courts can grant the hearing of an injunction way ahead after the EC has finished its registration of Ghanaians who are eligible to vote now, that is this year, for the assembly elections, and next year, then what does it mean to me? For me, I'll continue to criticize because it doesn't make sense to me. And that is the picture we have been seeing over the period. But what we know is that there is another demonstration that has been planned, and this will take off next week, October 3rd. This is the Occupy Bank of Ghana demonstration. And yesterday, processes started in Accra here, where there appears to be some effort to sensitize the public on the need to come out in their numbers to support this protest. Because after the Occupy Julobi House demonstration, we had several commentaries from people who suggested that it was a flop, and so there was no remorse and so on. So what you see on the screen is what happened at Odododiodo. Before I introduce my guest, I want us to listen to a few of those who spoke at the event, and then we begin our conversation tonight.
Ebia o my Ghana yedru say no. Enye NDC, enye MPP, enye CPP, enye APC, enye o my Ghana asem. Enipakuo kakra bi omo ye busua ene enamfufuo abedada Ghana fo me yedie tumi nyina ahye omo nsa. Omo de adokodokosem atro ene nada ena Ghana fo gi omo di ena Ghana fo di yetumi hye omo nsa. Omo bae no omo adwiri nyina ne se kwan bia omo befa so a omo beton Ghana ama omo busua ayeyie na sempo so omo free aban so a omo be use sika na omo wia no e dia control Ghana no ho asem ne ye ka ne say ever since ameba ewiase a ye friend Ghana ha ye wo meto ha Sec Bank of Ghana aboka da. And so Akufo-Addo time nkoa Bank of Ghana atumi aboka 60.8 billion no me pese me kire mu kakra. Na say ya nyina te say Ghana see e pebosia o IMF. To the extent say omo beka say so omo anji 11 kura na Ghana bebo. Ye ma omo kwan omo di tumi imposu 11 we so ni nyina achi dom ko chi IMF 3 billion ye prove say de ba ma omo $3 billion. And so me translate 6 billion na omo we free Bank of Ghana e say 6 billion. It is can ba omo ko pemu busia no. It's like twice and omo we free Bank of Ghana. Ye fa no ntonchen the same Bank of Ghana ya omo say omo we 6.8 billion almost no. The same Bank of Ghana Abu Ghana Mraso Akocha CD poly 77 billion. Na sa same way yaka ya nipa bebre ntiase aya enfie en 9 year ade ananka ultimate 10 Ghana cedis eto no say gi Saudi 100 Ghana cedi en eto
no, I pay school fee. What you go, I will do. What am I going? I will do it. I'm going to where enough for I'm a dream of the eye. I'm in your kind of I'm a dream one. I'm a few of my beer. I'm a few of my beer. I'm from you get what you got. I get I follow
We owe it as representatives of the people. I owe it to the people of Nungo Papa who voted for me to ensure that I hold the Bank of Ghana to deliver better service. And if Dr. Edison has showed that he's a printer. He must leave the Bank of Ghana and go to Newtown. Printers are based in Newtown. They print there. You should go and print and leave the Bank of Ghana for a proper manager of the physicals of Ghana.
Those were excerpts of what happened at Odododiodo, just around Jamestown here in Accra last night. We understand that these public engagements will be going on at several places within the country, just to sensitize the people to understand what is going on. My guest is one of the activists who was also at Odododiodo last night. He's Bernard Mona. Many of us know him, but in this, for this conversation, I'm recognizing him as one of the leading members of Arise Ghana, which are partnering the minority for the demonstration. First of all, thanks for your time. I want to ask this question. There is no doubt Ghanaians are angry, but what appears to be missing from what we witnessed in the past when protests are called, it will look as if people are angry, but they are just observing what is going on rather than the numbers you want to see on the streets.
A very good evening to you,
good evening,
your many viewers, and in particular your technical crew. I keep saluting them because they do the bulk of the work.
Of course.
We are the ones who are seen. And so sometimes they have to get here earlier than everyone, get the stage set, and we'll have to keep monitoring, and even after the show, they have to still do the unpacking. So I salute them for their work. First and foremost, let me thank you for the honor of being here. As we speak, Arise Ghana, the minority, and the collection of many civil society organizations, political parties, are at one public forum. This evening alone, we have 3 different public forums. One will take place at the All Anointed Times venue. One is taking place at Bombay, at Ododiodio. Then the other one will take place at Osu Junction 5, where we will be meeting with the fisher folks. The final one will take place near the Osu night market. And so up to around 10 o'clock, these public forums...
That's today, as we speak.
As we speak, they are ongoing. The minority leader, the NDC communications officer, the Arise Ghana chairman, Rex Omar, Listowell Nana Opoku, Bobie Ansa Kwabena, Awudu Ishak, Hidaya, Bala Mekankang, and a host of others are going round. And so you've cut me off those activities just because we have other listeners that will not have the opportunity to be part of this. What is missing in all these endeavors is simple. That whilst people are angry, they are also looking at how they can make a living. Because you get up in the morning and you have to struggle. And as I said yesterday at Ododiodio, it's evident that the majority of Ghanaians are very angry. And the numbers that we saw yesterday, from 4 p.m. this evening up to this time, in the various communities that we are engaging with people, simply tells the story that never before in the history of this country has anger levels reached a crescendo like this. And so I fear, because anytime we do this, and you just read the police statement, the police will come and engage in theatricals, issue statements to dissuade people from participating, threaten people with beatings, in some instances threaten people with deaths. And yesterday I said, how many times do we want to be beaten? Because you are even more beaten and flopped when you as a father, as a husband, gets up at dawn and takes your T-shirt or your shirt and pass it through the window and walk out half naked, simply to avoid your wife from noticing that you are exiting the house. Kids should not wake up to meet you in the house, because as they wake up, you'll be confronted with breakfast issues. You'll be confronted with supporting what they will eat. The fact that you will not even have enough sleep and you have to jump out of your house, and I say people put their wares through their windows and walk out to go and take, to avoid, that is more than being beaten. So if you think that going on the street, the police will come and beat you, then I assure you that by trying and waking up at dawn, avoiding your family because the there is not there for you to do the do. To do the do is to support your family to feed in the morning, to buy kenke and to get fish. Or in some instances, just buy the kenke without fish. You cannot provide it, master, you are beaten. And so it is not by going to the street and for the police to beat you that will be any different. And so when your life has reached such a terrible state, you are beaten. And for those who fear to die, bro, whether you fear to die or you don't fear to die, death will come.
Does it suggest that people don't appreciate the realities of issues today and how they will likely impact on them in future? That is why, because if you look at Kumik Preku demonstration, for example, some say because of how massive the numbers were, the government of the day at the time was compelled to withhold VAT that was going to be introduced. Does it suggest that perhaps our attitudes may have influenced this government to be belligerent and is doing what it's doing?
No, I simply think that, look, and I have insisted on this, and my colleagues know my stance on it. One day demonstrations are no more the route to go. Sustained demonstrations would pile pressure not only on the government, but even the police that come there. When they are fatigued, they will begin to tell the message. And the last time I was at the 37, and
that's the Occupy
Julabi house, I spoke and I pointed out to the Inspector General of Police that whilst you would send your men to beat us, I can assure you that just not far from where we were protesting, some of your men were living at the police barracks opposite the DVLA. You know that?
I know the place.
Go to the place. The place has been sold.
And the project is ongoing.
And they are demolishing the buildings. They have evacuated most of the police people to Kwabenya. And you come and tell me that the Kwabenya property is a better place. You have forgotten that that place, the DVLA place, is a national place that was designated for special security purposes. Because if you look at that location and look at its proximity to the airport,
to the Jubilee House,
its proximity to the Jubilee House, and its proximity even to the police hospital and many other places, you will understand the raison d'etre for which Kwame Nkrumah put up that facility. For any government to come without thinking and to say that you are relocating the police and to give that property to private sector, and the police are in happy mood for it, it can only be at the top echelons. I can tell you that majority of the other ranks in the police service are very bitter. Bitter because, see, if you are a police officer who works at the Flagstaff House, for instance, or worked at the police headquarters, or even works at Kaneshi, and you were living at the police barracks right at the 37 DVLA office, you see that commuting in and out is very easy and less expensive. Now that you have to traverse all the way from Kwabenya, the cost of movement alone will eat up your salary. And so anybody who wants to factor what the impact is should begin to look at what it will exert on people's pocket. Already their incomes are so low that they don't even survive on their take-home pay. And so it would have been important that the IGP and the police hierarchy should have stayed their grounds and said, no, this one, if you cannot add more onto that, after all, you are increasing the number of police personnel.
Some might say maybe it's a modern facility compared to where they were in the past.
If you are there, you can start doing infilling, you can start demolishing and rebuilding for the purposes of the police. But when you auction it to private sector, it doesn't come back to the state any longer. If you go just below, where you have the military enclave, where the agric engineering used to be, or the agric engineering is, we have sold agric engineering to private people. And so between the Air Force and Army, regular, you have private people living there. They are going to construct anything and everything. They are going to bring anything and everything because it is their place they have bought. This is near the airport. This is within your Burma camp. So you have lost control of your security.
So you are making reference to the Aviation Social Center enclave. That's the area.
Yeah,
close to the Defense Ministry.
Close to the Defense Ministry, getting towards the, what do we call it? The Bugnam Kim Golf Park. That area has been sold. It used to be called Unique Floral, that lane.
Yes, I've seen that area.
Very good. It has been sold. So, and you see, if you get up and you go to La Palme Royal, it's being sold. right? You go to Ridge Royal in Cape Coast, it's being sold. You go to Bujua Beach, it's being sold. You go to Elmina Beach, it's being sold.
What really?
Now, they are not selling it for anything. They are selling it unto themselves. Appointees of President Akufo-Addo are buying. And the question I ask is, over the years, we learned from our mistakes, right? So we sold SSB. You remember? SSB is a Senate facility. And we said we are selling it partly to Société Générale. So it came up as SSB. Have you checked the inscription of the bank these days? Have you checked? They have taken only the SG. And so it's Société Générale Ghana.
SSB gone.
SSB is gone. So it means that the component of Ghana in that thing, they have totally dissolved it. And so when Senate has a property, and LAPAM alone last year gave you in excess of 10 billion in dividends, if there is managerial lacune, it is for you to correct it and not to sell state. No, when you come and inherit state assets, you are enjoined by public spirit to add onto. If you cannot add onto, you leave it as it is. What do we see? We are selling. And selling unto ourselves. So those that we have given authority to protect us and to protect our assets, bro, they've taken our assets and they are sharing it nyafu nyafu fu nyafu nya wa wa wa.
Now, when as an activist, I believe that a lot of people engage you. Ordinary people call you to share their experiences. Do you get this impression that, especially those you are fighting for, you are not that old, but would say there are many young people behind you whose future you want to secure through this activism that you lead or you join? Do you get the impression that many young people understand the risk involved in their silence with reference to the mess, let me use it in quotes, that is going on?
Well, just the day before yesterday, I went as usual playing my basketball, and when I finished, I walked out. There was this group of young men who were decently dressed and having a sip in order to wait for the traffic to go. As soon as they saw me, in fact, it was when I spoke,
that they realized
that it was me. Then everyone turned and said, wow, okay, now we understand. Activism is not an easy, so you have to keep training in order to do it. And they said that they chose to go outside of Ghana. And they decided that they want to stay off politics and to concentrate on their businesses and being middle class. But since returning to Ghana, they have realized that no, they cannot be comfortable with just playing, going to the office and dressing nicely and coming. Turned around and said, Mr. Mona, we salute you for letting us understand that we got it wrong by staying away. We will join you. And that is how come that you see a lot more people around this time who are angry because our persistence, our consistency in fighting and in exposing the rot has now earned more attraction, and that people are beginning to open up. And I told them, for instance, I am not a law student. Law students were going on protestation. And they told me, and I said, no. The reason for which they are going for this protestation is justified and solid. Injustice is being perpetrated against a group of people. It is our duty to fight injustice anywhere and everywhere. I joined the law students. Somehow, when the police saw that I had joined them, they thought I was one of the leaders. I wasn't, because it was the SRC and the leadership that organized it. They kept calling on me to come, and I always pushed the leadership. I was just in the middle, guiding them as to how we will go. You know that they met us with tankers. They were ready to devour us in the most violent manner. And when we decided, we were taking a petition to the Flagstaff House. Between the Afrikiko Junction and the immigration headquarters, they had done a coup there. They blocked this side and blocked this side. So as we were running on the Kentucky interchange, they were meeting us from that other side and meeting us here. Then I turned around. The only option was for people to jump from the interchange and then either die. Then I said, no one is jumping. Run into the Canadian embassy. And so we scaled into the Canadian embassy, and that, of course, is the territory of another man's country. So the police initially had started throwing their water, and somebody drew their attention that, no, this is not Ghana premises. We had no option than to give a petition to the Canadians that we wanted to give this petition to our head of state to address the challenges within legal education in Ghana. Since they would not agree, we handed over the petition to the Canadians and requested them to send it to our Ghana government. Today, legal education has been reformed. It is as a result of our persistence and our struggle that legal education has been reformed. But majority probably of those who participated or who did not even participate would become lawyers and probably fight us. In the course of struggle, you must know that there will be enemies. And that is why when we go out, I know that, look, as soon as we advertise community engagement, they send their assigns to come and watch. So there are enemies within us when we go to meet the communities. But we care not, because it is our sacred duty to fight. Because I have kids, you have kids, and they must have a future. That future, we must create it for them. If we cannot determine, just as the future of an independent state was created by Kwame Nkrumah and his likes, for us to come and be independent today, it is our duty to protect and maintain a certain level of future for our kids who are coming up. And so I get the sense that if you see, particularly celebrities, people that you would not have thought that would be interested, they will be interested in entertainment and other things. And at the Julobi House demonstration, you saw people trooping in, uninvited. People came and parked their cars, came and solidarized, and tell you that we'll go and come because we are on assignment, but we feel a part of it. I have no doubt.
So that is motivation.
I have no doubt
there's a
that
young
the time has
lady
come.
Whose comment or vituperations actually has gone viral. And many people were wondering whether she was possessed or what really must have triggered it. Now, many people may have seen it, others may not have. I just want to play this for your benefit. And then I will ask you what has been going through your mind ever since Ghanaians reacted perhaps positively to this young lady and others who spoke during the demonstration over the weekend.
And he died. He died. 24-year-old. He died. Not because of sickness. The country failed them. You, I swear, God will judge you. What you did on Thursday. God.
My lady.
I am very angry. I'm more angrier this morning. People are dying each day. The dying list is machine in Kolebu Gospel. Do you know the number of people who died? A 24-year-old boy died this morning. His father is a teacher. His father is a teacher. Gave over 30 years of his life to the service. Could not afford transplants. Could not afford dialysis. 400 cedis a week. What do you mean? Do you know how much taxes they check out every day? The cost of living. But you bring in flowers for your daughter's birthday. You bring a cake to celebrate 11. God will judge the government.
The youth, we have the power. The streets, we have the power. If the police allow us to go to the Flagstaff House, we will allow all the cars to move.
We want the president to sit up or resign. You know, the president has already said that he has chickened out of the presidency. He's no more in charge. And the next leader will lead us into out of the woods. An indication that the president is no more in charge of the country. So one, we want him to resign peacefully, pack his bag and baggage and out of the presidency.
I want the government to know that I'm suffering. I'm a mother of triplets. First, I used to buy this pampers at 1 cedis. Now I'm buying it at 3 cedis. Imagine if I'm having little children and I'm maybe number of 4 or something. The money I need to change, after I need to change. But due to the situation that we are in now, I can't change my baby's diapers.
Beautiful.
This is the anger on the street. These are young people many never anticipated will come. Now, for some time now, I've been boarding Trotro. I deliberately do because I just want to appreciate what really people are going through. Yesterday, there was an experience. There was a young man who obviously is a civil servant. I joined him at a particular junction and we're picking Trotro to another location. In fact, the idea was that if we move to another location to be faster for us to get a car to our destination. And the mate said, it is 2 cedis, 50 pesos. And the man said 2 cedis. There was a fight, a near fight in the trotro. I said, I'll pay for your fare. The man told me thank you, and he gasped for breath. Now, while the vehicle was moving, I was reflecting that, hey, 2 cedis, 50 pesos. I thought it was easy or very cheap. But to somebody, this was enough money. I had another experience. I was sitting at a pub. I like sitting at pubs in the evening. And then a young boy, around 8 years, came to me. He was coming to ask for money. My initial instinct was, at this time of the day, why would you be asking me for money? I screamed at him to leave the place quietly, but I tried to scare him to leave so that at least he'll have a feel that I'm not ready for beggars. But when he was going, something dawned on me to call him. So I called the gentleman back and I asked, what are you going to use the money for? Where's your mother? He said, my mother is at home. What is she doing? She said, she's just sitting there. Where's your father? He said, I don't know where my father is. So I said, what do you want the money for? He said, toilet. In fact, I was touched. I felt ashamed. I gave him 5 cedis. And he ran towards where I know the public toilet is. And after a while, he came back and thanked me and walked to his house at the opposite direction. Just toilet. So I'm imagining how many parents are living in communities where they don't have their own toilets at home and what they are going through. And that is what we are facing. For example, if you buy 1 crate of egg or you bought it for 12 cedis and now you are buying it for 45 cedis, you will appreciate the consequences. Now, if you listen to these young people who obviously are pained and therefore they cannot hold their anger, does it motivate you to see Ghanaians now recognizing the need to speak truth to power?
Well, I am extremely excited because this is an event that I was a part of. This is an event that I thought the police simply misbehaved. They showed their level of uselessness when they do not want to take their professional etiquette seriously. And subsequently, when they chose to become professional, we commended them. So on day 2, Friday and Saturday, day 2, day 3, the police conducted themselves extremely well. So much that I had no option than to commend the IGP and to commend I think the Director of Administration, COP Yohunu,
yes,
who actually was in charge. And probably his level of discipline informed the success of the event.
For day 2 and day 3.
For day 2 and day 3. Those who decided to run riot on protesters on day 1 should be very ashamed. And I sent a signal that, look, you beat us today, we'll beat your children tomorrow. I can assure you.
What does it mean?
Why? Will the IGP continue to be IGP tomorrow? Will the regional commander continue to be regional commander? But they are giving birth to children. They may grow and be discontent with the way things are happening in this nation. And they may choose that they have a right under Article 21 of the 1992 Constitution to vent their anger. Probably our children will be IGPs, will influence them to beat them. What goes round, they say, come round. And so let no one think that in beating us today, your children will be watching your children, you'll be crying that this is the service you were in. But you've forgotten that in the same service, you mishandled your authority. And so if you beat us today, we can assure you will beat your children. We will beat your relatives. We will identify them and deal with them. After all, they are children and our children are in school. We know each other. So let no one think that beating us...
This is an open threat.
I have no difficulty if you say it's an open threat. Let it be mine. But I can assure you, if you beat us today, we'll identify your children and beat them tomorrow. If beating is good today, it must be good tomorrow.
Do you think the police...
Now, you see the anger that has been shown here. Somebody 24 years with a bright and promising future for this country. The father had served as an educationist for 35 years. Poverty has reached a crescendo. Every day, prices of goods and services are rising about 40%. Every day. That teacher's retirement income is not rising. pari passu the rising inflation. The exchange rate has reached a certain level. The Bank of Ghana, that is supposed to be the lender of last resort, has run itself into a negative. They have run a loss. The managers are still occupying the office. The Minister for Finance has gone to the Bank of Ghana to let them print money in excess of 77 billion. They have used the money and we cannot say what the money has been used for. Every road in this country is not financed by the monies that we have collected. It is financed by loans. So much that we have reached a point, we have skated almost every road in this country, except the Pokwasi to Chebi Road. And you understand why Pokwasi...
Now, when you say Pokwasi to Chebi Road, what exactly are you...
I am inferring that why the road here, from Teshi
to
Nungwa through to Accra, has been stopped. The one leading to Kaneshi has been stopped. Every road construction has been stopped. Only one road construction is done day and night.
So the road leading to the president's...
The road leading to the president's hometown is being constructed in the night as we speak. If you go there, doubt me and take your cameras there. They are working. They are working speedily so that in case of any eventuality, that road would have been completed so that the president and his family can only drive home. Don't forget that within the Chebi enclave, roads are asphalted as far as the cemeteries. You know that?
That I know.
Roads are asphalted all to the cemeteries. And now the road from Accra leading to Chebi is the one that they are putting so much work. You see the number of demolitions.
Why do you think any government will have such level of impunity?
So when you have tribal bigots,
resources?
When you have tribal bigots running the affairs of state, everything is directed towards their tribal lot. And this is what we are facing today. The challenge we are facing today is that President Akufo-Addo has surrounded himself with only people from within his family and extended family. From the Ministry of Finance to the Minister for Roads, to the acting Prime Minister or Prime Minister, to the Secretary of the President. Everybody is very close and proximate to the President family. So everything is directed towards their hometown. Now, when you have such a situation, you can expect that the President will always be misled. And indeed, the President has said he has always been misled. Because from the PDS days to Ameri review committees and what have you, and we saw the level of rot. The Minister for Finance has shown gross incapacity of managing the fiscal space in this country. But don't forget that members of the MPP stated that unless and until the Ministry of Finance is relieved of data bankers, the independence of our nation will be meaningless.
Now, I'll come back
now,
to you.
When you get to that point, and the Minister for Finance is still in office, after even MPP, majority MPs in Parliament, has made an open protest, the President said, let him lead us to an IMF deal. The IMF deal has been concluded. The Minister for Finance is there. If it's not tribal bigotry, what is keeping the Minister for Finance there?
My guess, I can imagine the heat. Of course, the tempo is rising because obviously Bedan Mona is angry. I am equally very angry because I share the sympathy of myself, like others who are going through hardship and feel that there's nobody who is listening. We'll be taking a short break. When we come back, you remember the Finance Minister just recently issued a statement supporting the effort by the Bank of Ghana and suggesting that the noise and claims that he's failed and therefore he must go is unjustified. In fact, we'll be looking at this. And of course, what really those organizing this demonstration coming next week want, and do they think government will listen? These are the issues we'll be looking at when we come back in the other half to complete our conversation tonight.
Ghana. Time has so. The time has come to end high cost of living. In Ghana today, we're struggling to make ends meet. Yet the Akufo-Addo government has borrowed more than any government since Nkrumah, ballooning our debt from 120 billion cedis to 600 billion, rendering the country bankrupt. Today, we can't pay our creditors, including pensioners. Businesses are laying off people. Access to healthcare is a problem. Everything is in disarray. Yet, the Bank of Ghana has printed money to the tune of 77 billion for them, which they have wasted on their profligate and wasteful lifestyle. And that is what we find in Cecilia Dape's bedroom. And of course, Dr. Bawumia using same to bribe delegates in the MPP's Super Delegates Conference with a minimum of 1 billion old Ghana cedis. Fellow Ghanaians, we cannot let these few greedy, selfish NPP politicians destroy our country, our lives, and our future. The time has come for all of us to rise up and fight for future generations. Rise up and fight for children unborn. Let's all rise and join the Occupy Bank of Ghana protest happening live on the 3rd of October 2023 as we all gather at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle Interchange or the Obra Sport at 8 a.m. It's the Occupy BOG protest powered by NDC, PNC, PPP, APC, GCPP, GUM, Minority Caucus, Arise Ghana, COPEC Ghana, ASEPA, Justice for Ghana, FOCA, Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana, Okada Association, Actors for Change. There's Occupy BOG demo. Munchai Sikedieno, Naye Bre. Stop the stealing. We are suffering.
Upon your arrival, you are introduced to your butler, who plans your itinerary. So many activities, all in the same premises. Visit the gym or the stables, they have it all. At my break, I'm able to practice my putting. They used only electric vehicles here. This creates a serene environment. I'm told it's over 1,000 acres. My cabin here sits on 2 acres with a large terrace space overlooking my private swimming pool. Now this is royalty. They have their own farms, thousands of fruit trees. I can also have my lunch here at the waterfall. Quite a beautiful place you have here, sir.
Your betting game just got better with WinSlot. Do you want to know how? Let's find out. WinSlot is a legit gaming platform that offers you exciting wins and bonuses. As a top gaming platform in Africa, we offer packages you can't refuse. We've got 70 plus amazing games like the Aviator games, spins, slots, dice games, and many more. And the perk is you're guaranteed a user-friendly interface, a fast loading speed, free deposit, and super fast withdrawals. And all the cash outs are in real time. So what are you waiting for? Register for free at www.winslots.com.gh today and win big with WinSlots now. WinSlots, win some. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below the age of 18 years. Gaming can be addictive.
Welcome back. This Ideas Exchange, and I'm speaking to Bernard Mona tonight. He's one of the leading members of pressure group Arise Ghana. The conversation is about the demonstration coming on next week against the governors of the central bank for mismanaging the bank and then, of course, helping to crash the economy. Many say the inflation in this country, which skyrocketed to over 50%, was a result of the poor decisions by the Bank of Ghana, which is in bed with government because they are supposed to be independent. Now, this conversation is also trying to look at what really is making the minority and all those who have joined this planned demonstration so angry. Now, the finance minister recently sought to suggest that those making noise are just not reasoning. And I will read exactly how he put it. And it's very, very instructive. And he says, Governor Addison is a competent professional of quiet courage. I'm taking a paragraph half of the long thing he wrote. In these nearly 7 years, we have worked together to ensure the inviolability of the banking system, the establishment of the Consolidated Bank of Ghana and the Development Bank of Ghana, the raising of $10 billion in Eurobond market and the Afri-Exim Bank. He brought inflation down to single-digit 7.9% for the first time and changed an impressive period of currency stability in our country, including the implementation of the Gold for Oil program. It is either simply the height of irony or a sad reflection of a state of public discourse in our country that this man steps in at a period of unprecedented global economic meltdown and domestic economic crisis and is being pilloried for his good work. Now, when Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who himself is being asked to go, sought to slap him in the face by suggesting that the Bank of Ghana has done so much and must stay in office, how did this come across to you?
It comes across as a man who is either arrogant, pompous, or simply ignorant of what economic success can be. Sometimes it comes also across that classroom education and certificates are not testimony enough of how well one understands what classroom should have taught you. Basic point is this. What single policy did Ken Ofori-Atta introduce that led to economic improvement apart from vanquishing our economy? Ken Ofori-Atta inherited a nation where the previous years productivity had sunk so low because there was energy crisis. And that after the energy deficit was solved with augmented generation, industry, all institutions had predicted that Ghana was going to grow.
In fact, that was the World Bank projection, at about 7%.
Ghana was going to grow. And indeed, without anything, if Ghana had sat down, yet by the solutions that were put in place by 2017, 2016, 2017, 2018 was going to be a booming year. And that is what Ken Ofori-Atta inherited.
But they said that is their track record till COVID came.
When they inherited, in the first year of 2017, President Akufo-Addo was busy forming a government, and therefore no policy was outlined. In 2018, when he started outlining the policies, they were to be implemented in 2019. So in actual effect, no policy of President Akufo-Addo saw full implementation, and therefore could not have yielded the outcomes that they are talking about. The policies of President Akufo-Addo started to show ugly head and ugly face, because you brought in a Minister for Finance who does not understand or did not understand why the MPP actually won power. The MPP won power because President Akufo-Addo said that yetisikaso and so a comedian if you are mamwe mkoye. To wit, we are sitting on money, but we are poor because of the bad leadership. And that we will not borrow. This was supported by the running mate, Baumud Bamia, who said that having worked as a deputy governor at the Bank of Ghana, all the money we need to take this country out of its current economic quandary was found in Ghana. When they came, Ken Ofori-Atta, and in the useless statement he put, he is talking about going to the Euro bond market and raising $10 billion. In raising that $10 billion, you have already told us that you do not believe that we could raise money domestically to support the programs that President Akufo-Addo said that Ghana yet is Tikaso. That simply tells that economic maturity doesn't.
But they may have spent the $10 billion
on what?
Discrediting the Bank of Ghana governor for that they raised through the Eurobond.
Don't worry, on what?
You are a Ghanaian.
You raised $10 billion. There is nothing to prove. Anytime we talk, you tell us that free SHS. Was free SHS not financed from our oil resources?
What about 1D, 1F?
How is 1D, 1F something? Which of them is owned by the state?
One village, one dam.
Where? Sankana, there is no dam there. In fact, in the 11 districts in the Upper West region, there is no one village.
One constituency, one warehouse.
It never happened.
The drones are distributing blood.
Where? It never got to my village, and I don't know about your village.
What about Agenda 111?
Where are they located? The Agenda 111, and you see, journalists like you should not want to come and make things worse. You started from Agenda 88 and told us that you complete this before 2020 elections. They were never completed. Then, all of a sudden, 88 expanded to 111. You gave us a deadline for which they will be completed. They have not been completed. So, what are we talking about? Now, in spite of all this, we have seen how Ken Ofori-Atta milk every loan, every Eurobond that was brought into this country. Ken Ofori-Atta and Data Bank had a share inside it. Right? And so there cannot be any justification for Ken Ofori-Atta to oppose the governor of the Bank of Ghana, because by going to borrow Eurobond, Ken Ofori-Atta and Data Bank and Enterprise Insurance or Enterprise, they benefited directly.
Now, when the bank...
So, Eric, what then is happening is that it's like, how do we call it? You scratch my back, I scratch your back. The Minister for Finance went to the governor of the Bank of Ghana and said that we are in liquidity difficulties. How do you solve that? The Bank of Ghana printed 77 billion and gave it to Minister for Finance. Go and use it. Right? So today, if there is a challenge, the minister knows that he caused the governor to be in this kind of crisis. So he has to come to his rescue. When you print 77 billion and give to the government of Ghana, and you turn around and say that 32 billion of that amount cannot be paid.
Written off.
It cannot be paid. And that no matter what you do, that 32 billion cannot be paid. So you have written it off. You have taken pen, cancel 32 billion. Don't pay. It's called bad debt. Look, so when people say that it is that money that you have given to the vice president to be going around and to be spending money in order to win the flag bearership of the MPP race, they are not kidding. When you went to take that money, you were supposed to go to Parliament, for instance, even though I doubt the efficacy of Parliament to reject it. But Parliament should have been informed that you are going to print money for the the Minister for Finance. You didn't. Now, when you are even going to cancel the debt, you are not informing Parliament. You have run a loss of 60 billion, 60.8 billion, a negative equity of 55 billion. What it simply means is that the Bank of Ghana is bankrupt.
But the Bank of Ghana governor spoke recently, and again, he's suggested that Q1, Q2, the growth rate is beyond what they anticipated, and everything is going well.
If you run bankrupt, and you know that as a bank, a central bank, one of your functions is to ensure that any other bank suffering liquidity problems with their clients, you support them with the function of lender of last resort. Today that the bank itself is negative, how will you function as a lender of last resort? When we talk, you say that the bank will still be able to do what it has to do. If the bank will do so, Eric, the machinery is simple. The bank has to print more money so that they can supply. Now, when you print more money, it means that you will have more money chasing limited goods and services. And when you have more money chasing limited goods and services, inflation will go up. Cost of living will go up. And then the citizens become worse off. Ken Ofori-Atta is saying that what? That in the scheme of all this, they have achieved what? They simply don't get it. And that is why we think that if the president cannot sack the governor, common sense should tell the governor that I have underperformed. I should give way for efficient and better persons. After all, is it not MPP and President Akufo-Addo who kept shouting they have the men, not knowing that they don't even have the boys?
Now, before we begin to wrap up, I want to ask this question. You would notice that when this Occupy Bank of Ghana demonstration was announced, there were back and forth meetings between the police and the minority. Eventually, the police went to court, a date was fixed, and that forced the minority or compelled the minority to postpone the date. In the demonstration organized against government, i.e. Occupy Jilobi House, the police went to court at the very last minute. I'm picking rumors that the police may try to provoke your members again by going to court to secure an injunction to stop the protest on October 3rd.
Well, I have told the minority that their level of weakness is beyond compare.
The NDC or the minority?
The minority is actually the NDC. Still is the minority.
Why would you say they are weak?
They are weak because, see, when people want to use legal gymnastics to frustrate you, you jettison that legal process and go revolutionary. When you notify the Ghana Police Service 3 weeks to the event and 2 days or a day to the event, they choose to go to court, you ignore them. You do the event.
Would that be breach of court procedures?
Which one is the court
procedure? Contempt?
An application seeking an injunction is not an injunction. You have gone to court to apply seeking an injunction. And the date for the injunction hearing is after your protest. So go and do your protest and go. Is that not the same thing the EC is doing? The Electoral Commission said that you have gone to apply for an application seeking an injunction. An injunction has not been granted. So yes, you have served us an application. We will not respond. Then you go to court and say that, look, I am seeking an injunction. They say they don't want. Then you go to court and say, court, there is an application before you. These people are conducting their exercise. So contempt of court. You go and get the contempt. The EC ignores the contempt and they are going on with their exercise. When they finish, they will come to the court. The court can decide to imprison them. And I'm looking for the situation where the courts in Ghana will imprison the minority leader. Imprison the minority, deputy minority leader. Imprison the chief whip. In fact, imprison the entire minority. And imprison all of us. And Ghana democracy will flourish. If that is the option that they want, let us do it.
So you think the system is, they are not provoking the system?
No, the minority is simply too docile. They must show muscle. If the Electoral Commission that has to safeguard our democracy and safeguard our laws can decide that they will ignore and jettison our laws, what is your business? And then you go and then say, your lawyers come and say, oh, don't do this because there is an injunction application. Are you the only legal people in this country? I have insisted where I sit today. Serve me an application, I will receive it. But seeking an application is not the same thing as the grant of an application. We will do what we have to do because Article 21 of the 1992 Constitution is a fundamental human right. You know what it means to say fundamental human right? It's not just any right, but a fundamental human right. And fundamental human rights are not issues to be joked with. I will not joke with my rights.
It's a survival tool.
It is in the category of the right to vote, the right to education, the right to life. And so my right to live is granted in the Constitution. And no one should tempt my right. And so when you have some people that come and say, no, let's be cautious. If we do this and we win power, they will do to us, win the power first. And wait for what they will do. Don't anticipate what will happen when you have not won the power. What is happening today, if we put our eyes low, by the time we raise our eyes,
it will be too late.
It will be too late. And that is why I am energized by the community engagement yesterday. When we decided to engage the people and they started to speak, then you know that, Charlie,
okay, so Bernard Mona has been my guest. I'll read a few text messages. This one from Andy Boss says, Achim Mafia should be stopped. And then this one from Ko Mensa Pillar 2. Is it Alan Chamantin Masa Kasa Tintin Ento Ponko? I can't read the tree very well. It says, this one from John says, look, Bernard Mona, I admire you. I'm convinced I'll join the demonstration tomorrow. Benjamin Lati says, God bless you, Mona. Emmanuel Ilesu Nikwe says, good job. And I'll read the last one. My time is up. Ruth Youngson is giving you thumbs up. Now, tomorrow, many of the programs will continue the conversation on this hashtag Occupy Bank of Ghana demonstration. Bernard Mona, unfortunately, the time is up. A lot of comments I'm receiving suggest that you've spoken well, and many think that they are now understanding the issues. For me, as an individual, I think that if you believe in Ghana and you wish the best for Ghana, speak out. I have children, they are young, they are yet to appreciate what really life is. But when I look back and I know I don't have any other place to go, my only wish is to join any cause that will ensure that the right things are done for this country. My name is Ahianyo. Let's meet again next week for another exciting program on Ideas Exchange. Good night.